places. Your participation is important.
Good morning. Welcome to yet another edition of The Burning Issue here on the Happy World of 5FM Radio on 89.9 in Lusaka, surrounding areas. We are grateful that you found time to tune in. We are also live on our Facebook page, that's 5FM Radio Zambia, and also on our YouTube channel, 5FM Zambia. Don't forget, live on our partner radio stations. We are live on Tuta FM in Mansa, covering the rest of Luapula province on 90.7 FM. Also Capri and the surrounding towns and farming community especially. We are live because we are live on 100.3 FM. Also live on Spice FM in Kawe, covering the rest of Central Province on 91.1. And on the Copper Belt, we are well catered for. We are live on Platinum Radio in Ndola on 99.7. I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. We are grateful that you found time to tune in. Our guest this morning is Mr. Noel Nkoma. He is an economist. And also don't forget that he holds various portfolios at party level, the ruling party level, and at government level. He is also the board chair of the National Road Fund Agency, right? So, Mr. Nkoma, always a pleasure to have you on this program. We haven't spoken in a long time, but I believe it's time to speak around issues to do with the economy.
Thank you so much, Zaki, and thank you to the management of 5FM. I consider this home. It's a long time I've been here.
Yes.
And always grateful to be given this platform. And good morning to my brothers and sisters, fellow Zambians out there. And happy to interact with you once again.
Yes. Now, let's get right into it. I mean, first of all, I think the burning issue has recently in the recent past has always been around the fact that there was a document announced by the policy advisor to the president, Mr. Joseph Lungu, who stated that first of all, the UPND government has fulfilled 90%, meaning that this government has achieved 90% of what the party in government promised at the time. And there's dispute around those facts because at the end of the day, Zambians are questioning how 90% translate in the current high cost of living, because you know what I mean, and they're saying the high cost of living still with us.
Okay, Zach, let me start first by stating facts. And when we state facts, we should always make the reference point is numbers, right?
Right.
Because it has been proved, scientifically and otherwise, that numbers or figures don't lie. Now, yes, first of all, we must acknowledge that a promise can be actualized to a certain degree, or it may not be fully actualized.
Right.
Now, let me put things into context. Let us look at, first of all, at the international scene, global politics. And I'll come back to Zambia.
Right.
I just want to give this as a point of reference.
Right.
When President Donald Trump was running for the White House, or the presidency of the United States, he promised that within 100 days of him assuming office, the Russia-Ukraine war will end, the Israel Gaza war will end.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And how many days has he been in office? Way past 100 days. Right? That has not been achieved. Can we honestly say that Donald J. Trump has failed? No, he hasn't failed. Why do I say that? He continues to make an honest effort to be able to actualize what he promised to deliver. Right? Time may not have been on his side, but we are seeing on a daily basis continuous engagement. What if you now coming to Zambia? I think it would be unfair to label the new Dawn administration under the leadership of His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema to have failed. Because you have to, first of all, describe or define what you call failure. Now, let me take it, maybe approach it from another angle. Zach, in all honesty, would you believe that, or do you believe or subscribe to the fact that a person who has been able to transform the education sector in a manner where 2 million new learners have been enrolled in the last 3-4 years to be a failure? These are people who were out of school. Now they're back into school, giving hope to many families, to the future of these young ones, and getting them back into school. And it doesn't come cheap. It doesn't come cheap. It's a cost. Right? And this speaks to the issue of a promise of free education. The question, has it been actualized? It has been over-actualized. Would you be able to regard a person who promised that once you elect me to office, I will reintroduce the student meal allowances in all universities, all government universities? I believe all major government universities are getting this benefit. That's a promise which has been fulfilled. Would you regard that person as a failure? Would you consider a person who says, when I get into office, I want to treat agriculture as a business by making sure that the farmers are paid the right value for their produce, increase the floor price over 100%? And maybe that's what speaks to the bumper harvest that we are seeing, because people now realize that agriculture is not it's a changer, it's a game changer. Would you consider that person as a failure who has committed beyond only increasing the maize floor price, but saying the moment you deliver to the FRA within such a specified period of time, whether it's 7 days, you will receive your money? It has happened. Would you consider a person who promised that when I get back into office, I'll revive the copper belt? All these mines which have been closed are going to come back to life. We're talking about Konkola copper mines, KCM. We are talking about Mopani copper mines, Luasha copper mines, Katumba mine in what you call Mumbwa. We are talking about the Nkoma cobalt mine, Chirabombwe, Chambeshi area there. Now, if you are going to convince me, I'm just giving a few examples, that even if we are to measure someone's success rate or failure, these count for nothing, then we have to redefine the meaning of failure. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here, Zach, is the fact that there is a honest effort and a progression that has been made towards transforming the lives of the Zambian people. Now, you talked about cost of living. Let me say something here. If you look at history, right, in the UNIP era, a bag of minimum was somewhere around what? If you look at a rebased currency, it was trading between 7 and 8 kwacha. Rebased, right? You come to the MMD era, it moved 70, 80 kwacha, somewhere there. I think when President Rupia Banda was leaving office, may so rest in peace, we're talking somewhere around the 65, somewhere there. Our colleagues took over the reins. They found it somewhere around maybe 70, 80. Where did they leave it? Around 170, 165, right? Now, what I'm trying to say to you is that this is not only peculiar to Zambia. I've traveled quite extensively. When I went to UK for the first time in 1980, I went to the UK for the first time as a student in 1988. The decent meal in an average restaurant at that time, I would pay £2. £2. If I went back to the UK today to the same restaurant, I will not find the same meal that I had 35 years ago at £2. I'll find probably 7-8 pounds. Right? So this is how the economy functions. Because mind you, there is a producer there who has to be accommodated in terms of pricing in as far as the inflationary pressures are concerned. Because inflation is something that lives with us every day. When you hear the Minister of Finance talk about we want to target inflation to bring it down, he's basically talking about targeting the cost of living. So even now, as we speak, there's a huge cost of living crisis in Japan, the fourth largest economy in the world. Their staple food, which is rice, has spiked in price. Here, our staple food is maize. So I'm trying to put things into context that the definition of true leadership is how much that leadership is making a honest effort to be able to address things. Now, in the Zambian context, yes, our productivity has been a challenge. And more importantly, in a country where the growth in the population is probably faster than the growth in the GDP. Well, now, when we talk about GDP, it's the economy, right? Whether it's trading goods, selling goods and services, and so on and so forth. That is basically the definition of the economy. So if your growth rate, population growth rate, is higher or at par with the economic growth rate, then you have a problem, because you are not able to provide adequately for your people in terms of opportunities or employment opportunities, as well as other opportunities which provide income generation in the economy. So what we should be saying, which I think is extremely important, is let us address the issue or the economic or the structured challenges that we are facing in the economy. And this is exactly what this administration has been trying to do. We recognize that mining has been in ICU. It is now being brought back. We are not talking about elevated production in the mines. KCM, I'm told, is doing very well. It's beginning to employ people. When I was listening to the Honorable Poka, who's the Minister of Mines the other day, he was talking of between Mopani and KCM in the last 1 year, almost 8,000 of our people have been reemployed or gotten back to work. That is the conversation that we must be having.
Now let's have a conversation around the fact that the American government, through the ambassador, has raised a couple of issues, which I think that, a bigger economy such as America, if they are having what we may term mistrust on a country like Zambia, with the financials, with aid, it does have an effect on Zambia on its own. First, I think he came out and brought out the fact that the American government had responded to the national emergency that was declared by the president following the drought. It responded and obviously funded the government so that it can procure maize. And he dissatisfied, saying, look, your government was buying maize at 41%
more expensive maize.
Yes, expensive maize.
Yeah,
41% more than the market price. They see mistrust, and I think he has also come on the health side. $50 million withdrawn of aid. Again, okay. These things are speaking to the economy. You like it or not? Because
let me just say something here. Maybe let us do what you call an audit trail, right?
Right.
When I talk about audit trail, I'm talking about you say, I'm not privy but I'm just beginning to form opinions. This is an opinion,
Right.
right? I'm not privy to the details in terms of what made Ambassador to arrive at that conclusion.
Right.
That, for example, we had procured maize which was 40 or 41% more expensive than maybe what was offered,
which was not even delivered.
Yes. Now, one thing that you first of all have to understand is that was the American offer of maize which was sitting in America, which was donated to the Zambian people, or it was an offer for money to be able to procure the maize which the Zambian government had sourced from our neighboring country, Tanzania.
Yeah.
Now, I'll address both sides. Assuming it was an offer of grain coming from the American government, I think it is a no-brainer. The fact that that maize, I am so sure, 100% it must have been GMO, right? And you know what the government policy is on GMOs. You know that very well, right? So that, to me, if it were the case, I would totally support the Zambian government if they rejected the 40% cheaper maize, which probably was GMO, if it was coming from the USA. Now, coming to the second issue, assuming that it was a monetary which was given to the Zambian government with a view that it could procure maize from the source that was
Tanzania,
which is Tanzania.
Yeah.
Let's look at it from a commercial aspect, because mind you, the Zambian government entered into a commercial transaction with the Tanzanian government, right? And I don't believe that that maize belonged to the Tanzanian government. I would like to believe that that maize was consolidated from a network of farmers in Tanzania who grew that maize, right? Who produced that maize, rather. Now, we know how lengthy the processes are for our American government to be able to provide support, whether it's the assistance or whatever. We know that it can take, in some cases, over 1 year or 2 years, right? You just agreeing on what you call bilateral aid. It's not something that today you say, we have got a crisis here. Our people need money, need food. We don't have the money to procure it. They would say, here's an open check, go and procure the food. It doesn't happen like that. They have to go through various processes, approvals, and so on. Now, the market doesn't wait. The market does not stand still. So if today, let's say the president had declared what you call an emergency or a disaster, whatever you call it, and immediately the Zambian government goes into action to source for maize, they find that maize in Tanzania at a strike price of, let's say, $200 per ton. And we know very well that in the region, it was only maybe Tanzania which had grain. Are you telling me that this price can hold for 3, 4, 5 months? It won't. Because at the end of the day, it's a floating price which is available to any entity which may make an offer, maybe even a better price. So to expect that, to allow the process of the American system to pan out, to be able to find the maize at the same price, it's a non-starter. So I'm assuming that maybe he's talking from that point, that at the point that the Zambian government was now utilizing that money, the price had moved. No, I think there's no responsible government which would want to deprive its people of a decent living by going to procure the most expensive maize. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. No matter how reckless or irresponsible that government is, they do not play with a staple food. That's my response to that.
Now, I'll take
on the issue of the medical supplies and so on and so forth. Well, I am not an authority in terms of or privy to the facts around the medical supply, what have you. So I'll plead ignorance in this respect.
Right. I'll take you back to the cost of living. Let's be realistic with the fact that the basic needs and the nutrition basket for a family of 5 in Lusaka has been reportedly surged by over 500 kwacha between 2004, that is May 2004, and May 2005. Clearly, this is an indication, because 500 kwacha is quite a lot of money. It's an indication that the cost of living is still going up.
Yes, it's still going up, but which year are you looking at? From to what?
2000, last year, May to May this
When
year.
was the drought declared? 2020.
Yeah,
what?
2024.
Yes. That's what speaks
Could be it.
That's what speaks to the raise in what you call the
Basic
nutrition,
needs. Yeah.
food basket.
Yes.
Because mind you, the law of supply and demand, when there's a scarcity in supply, demand is elevated, then the price
Goes up.
of course spike. We saw how the prices even were going as far as 350, 300, and so on and so forth. And in some areas, I'm told it went as far as 400. But now it's a reverse position because of the anticipated bumper harvest, and which is going to result into an oversupply of the commodity. That is why you are seeing now the price is tanking down. I'll be interested to see that report for the months beyond June and see how we are faring. But all in all, my simple explanation will be, we cannot run away from the factors of nature. There was a drought, which means a lot of crop fields failed, and that was going to create pressure on the little available what you call grain.
Yeah, but when then how would you then attribute? What would you attribute the instability in the kwacha against major forex?
I do not subscribe to that. There has been relative stability on the kwacha, and I'll demonstrate this to you. Zaki, again, let's go back to. I'll look at and I want to be forgiven because I keep on. There should be a reference point,
right?
And I'm not in any way trying to say anything despiseful to the previous government, but I'm just using it as a reference point,
right?
Because you have asked me a question, which I just need to. The exchange rate in 2011. What was the exchange rate, if you remember? The exchange rate was about 4 kwacha. Rebased. It was about 4,600.
Yeah, 4 to 6. Yeah.
But if you rebase 4 kwacha 6
right,
to $1, if my memory serves me right. Now, in a period of 10 years, right, as at let's say, look at the cutoff point of 2021. In a period of 10 years, it has moved from 4.6 to 24, right? Are you with me? Now, simple mathematics, the depreciation is how many, what percentage? Almost 400%.
Right.
Right? In 10 years. And if you are able to do an average of 400% over 10 years, it tells you that the currency has been depreciating at a rate of about 40% every financial year. Are you with me? From 24, let's use 24 as a base figure, 2021, we're in 2025, right? How many years? 4 years? Are you with me? 4 years, it has moved from 24 to the west, let's say 28. The depreciation is 4 kwacha. As a percentage of this, what is it giving you? It's giving you just about 16%. Right? 16%. Now, to me, I can describe this as a currency finding its true value or correcting itself based on the laws of supply and demand. Now, are you telling me that in the 4 years, at a depreciation of about 16%, speaks to instability of a currency. Look at where the rand was, right, 10 years ago, and where the rand is against major convertible currencies. So, and compare and contrast with the record of the last 4 years. It's within range in terms of how a currency responds to market dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, I think this speaks to stabilizing the economy. You remember that the minister is targeting about 3 million tons of copper production in the next
yes.
10 years.
Yeah.
We are moving towards that. And the moment we ramp up production in terms of our exports, even moving away from our traditional exports, then we shall be able to deal with the currency equation. In the absence of productivity, then we are jokers.
It has always been said that this government under the UPND is not so industrious, because then everyone is saying, look, setting up industries and fostering production is the only way. But it looks like the only production that this particular government keeps talking about and relying on is copper and agriculture.
I don't think it's true. I will challenge you, Zach, from here, right? Let us go into the biggest retail shops, whether it's ShopRite, whether it's Choppies, whether it's Pick and Pay, and look at the shelf space for Zambian produced, locally produced goods. Look at the shelf space that they occupy. Now, if you are talking about industrialization, how are those goods finding themselves on the shelf space? ShopRite was the other day, I recall the general manager, Mr. Charles Botta, was saying that actually the shelf space for Zambian produced goods has improved by over 80% in the last 10 years, right? In the last 10 years, the shelf space of Zambian goods in these major retail outlets has increased by 80%. So how come we are not seeing this? Or is it we are choosing what to see or what to hear? This is productivity. Amidst the challenges that we have on the energy supply side in terms of power. Because mind you, energy is a key component in the production cycle. Maybe it accounts for 40% of the cost. So even under the difficult circumstances of whereby we have had the worst power crisis in our history, as a result of the worst drought, we still got industries continuing to produce and manufacture. That speaks to confidence. That speaks to confidence. If you go into ShopRite now, you find in terms of the dairy products there, the only thing that you find which is important maybe is cheese. But we've got our own fresh milk, our own cheese, and all these things that basically speak to the issue of productivity in the economy. Why do you think that the UPN administration is now projecting GDP growth of about 6.5%? That informs this productivity. It's not only agriculture which informs this productivity, but it's also industrialization. Factories are opening outside mining. So I would like to believe that we are in a safe space to be able to be optimistic.
Issue here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio, and we are also live on our partner radio stations, Tuta FM in Mansa. We are live on ZFM in Capri, Spice FM in Kabwe, and Platinum Radio in Ndola. And of course, our guest is Mr. Noel Nkoma. He is an economist. But also remember that our program today will not go as far as beyond 11:15. Our guest is scheduled for a flight out, and so we will definitely be ending this particular program much earlier. Therefore, that caused that we will take your calls much earlier as well. So we should be opening phone lines pretty soon on 0955 221515. Now let's speak to the fuel. Well, the energy, because you were on it, but the fuel side of it. We have continuously seen a drop in the price of petroleum products. It could be diesel, petrol, kerosene. We've seen that drop. And obviously, we heard the president was very happy about that. But then people are still not certain that whether this is the beginning of the cheaper fuel that we have always heard of. And I think we remember that there was that famous talk that obviously prices will have to go up before they start coming down. Is this the time?
Well, Zaki, I can attribute that to two issues. I think OPEC, oil producing and exporting countries, I think we have seen some movement there, movement down, which basically I think is now beginning to benefit the Zambian oil market sector. Not only Zambia, but I think it's global, because the major producers of this commodity, I think the prices have slid down a little bit. So we are getting the benefits of that, what you call trickle down effect. Over and beyond that, I would like to attribute this to, I think, a well-structured, what you call policy implementation in as far as unlocking the energy sector and the robust stakeholder engagement and policy realignment. We're speaking about the open access, which I think has been on the cards for some time. We have seen it now being operationalized, and because of competition now, I think it's also speaking to the climb down. As I've always said before, I think it is the best thing that has happened to the country that government exits the oil sector. When I speak about exit in terms of procurement, right? Because this created distortions in IC. But now the price of fuel is being determined based on what you call economic fundamentals, which speak to supply and demand, and most importantly also competition. Where there's competition, there can only be one winner, and that's the consumer. So the winner here is a consumer. Where we're buying 1 liter, we can probably buy 1.5 liters. That takes us a little distance. So I think this again goes back to the issues that this new Donald administration has been emphasizing, that the private sector is the engine of growth, not government. Government should be able just to create that environment, conducive environment and facilitation, but let the private sector lead. When the private sector lead, these are the benefits that we're likely to get. We have seen that in the milling sector. You remember last week, is it the other week, they were saying other millers are producing, they are offloading the milling mill at 150 kwacha per 25 kg bag.
Right.
Others have still maintained, let's say 250. But you and me have a choice. Do you want to pay for 250, which is basically a brand that maybe may seem to be superior, or you want to pay for, let's say, 150, 160, right, for the same minimum? Those are what you call industry dynamics, which the private sector brings to the fore.
Well, we'll start taking phone lines on phone calls rather on 0955221515 for those who would like to call in. If you have a question or indeed a comment, please feel free to do that. Our guest is Mr. Noel Nkoma, an economist. Good morning.
Gazaki mwabuka shan.
Mwabuka fe wino mwabuka shan.
Nabuka wino. Elvis on the line.
Yes, Elvis.
Nkoma mulishan.
If you're in Mulishan or Elvis.
Wino.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mwalanda wino sana Nkoma. Ukwete matu na umfwa. Na ishide last week nali kufamu for almost a month. Na tusombola. We have a good yield this time. And the people are very happy. with the announcement of the floor price of maize today, understanding about that announce. That means abantu baramfa win. Obumuteko bulebomba bankoma. Yesterday naliya mu Pick and Pay. Nasangire star meeting ili pali 270 from 300 chakuti. You see that tremendous reduction. The fuel which has been reduced also, it's a plus. Because even the businessmen were happy. As I was watching TV yesterday, the businessmen were happy that now they'll be able to transact in a conducive environment with the cheaper fuel, which will make their businesses cheaper. So for me, Nkoma, this government with the able leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, which has taught me to be hardworking today, I'm saying kudos to this government, kudos to President Hakainde Hichilema, who even showed himself by producing so much maize that hectarage he was showing to the country. And I don't know why people are so bitter to say no, he was showing off. Even if kushitisha ngombe mwebantu ngombe shakwe, at yo is showing off. Number two, arapera kwisa fwechalo. So what I mean is, this government has put us on the right trajectory. It might be painful. This is when I'm realizing why these measures were put into place. To tell you the fact, Nkoma, I've done well myself, Kubulimi, Umuranduwala Akainde. They have opened Menji Shibabazaki, Abubakasenda Kono Mufuko wa Mataba. If you go to wedding, whenever they tell Mufuko Wazaki.
Niparedio hapa bayoviska.
Ndemi eva kaidi, mufene shesi pesa. Mkamile kile Mataba nishirefwa mkomfwe mulelile nsaraba zaki ya chinsala. And the price will be good.
Thank you.
And the good thing about that is that for us who bought fertilizer on our own, we are able to sell somewhere. Like in Mansa, we have Kotama breweries. They are buying at a very good price. Yeah, 330 according to the weight of the maize. So that what we are going to support you till 2026.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alvis. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvis. We'll take some more on 0955-221515. That's the number you're calling us on. Let's take this one. Good morning.
Well, Zaki, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you very much for calling. Your name?
Moses. Noel Maukapuanji.
Naukabwino, Moses, Mokabwino.
Aweta ukabwino.
Zikomo.
Wakambabwino kwambiri.
Yeah.
Amba buto yanga ine. Yakuti, since you are coming from Eastern, where I'm coming from, you can understand what I'm saying, even in the nature.
Yes.
So buto yanga yakuti, we seem to be having this economical growth, mainly on paper, but for us, the ordinary people, you know, the suffering seems to be too much, especially with the issue of the road shedding. Where do you think the problem is? Why are these economical transformation not, reflecting in our life? I can assure you that if you sometimes you should move on the ground and see the sufferings of the people. So that is why there's so much, cry from the people to say, we say, up and so on. So you should advise this government collectively Nkoma and tell them the truth. Because what I'm also seeing as I conclude is that the gap between us, the poor people, and you, the people already who have a lot, you seem to be doing very, very fine. Even what the president is showing us, we are wondering why his business, I'm not saying that because of bitterness, but his business as our president seems to be doing very well. But as the ordinary people to Masaluni to Nafat, Mapamba Show Pujani, you can't go in there while your president Jonah. Otherwise, 2026, you may be shocked to Nkoma Kusibantu because of frustration. Wapotera Aries, Jabuta, waende nao wa UPND wakapumule munga wa PF kwa swafu na kumbelera mwamene wanali kuchikira wanzao Zikomo kwambiri Tindere mbuya kudaliseni.
Zikoma.
I have a message from our partner radio station, Tuta FM, says that, good morning, Mr. Nkoma. Prior to the drought, Zambia had exported a lot of maize from its national stock, only to turn around and import the grain. To what extent do you think this contributed to the rise in the cost of living also? According to you, was the move by government to sell? So what is according to you is that, first let me read it right. So, good morning, Mr. Nkoma. Prior to the drought, Zambia had exported a lot of maize from its national stock, only to turn around and import the grain. To what extent do you think this contributed to the rise of the cost of living? Also, according to you, was the move by government to sell the maize and then import the right move? Okay, so I'll let you respond to those three so far.
Thank you so much. And Elvis, forever grateful. I think the issues that Elvis brings out are extremely important, because I think it's a message which is driven by the inspiration of the president's hard work in as far as trying to promote agriculture in this country is concerned. So I think he is right. We should not despise those who are trying to lead the way, but I think to be able to emulate and follow those footsteps. So it has been, there's no debate to the fact that agriculture is a mainstay of any country. And one of the things that we have not taken seriously as a Zambian people is that from the days of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, who used to sing this song, go back to the land, go back to, that's where the wealth is, we never took it seriously. What happened? We saw the white community, the mkoshi that you are seeing today, the syringe that you are seeing today, taking up that message from Dr. Kaunda, becoming the big farmers or commercial farmers of today. Why? It's the same thing, it's agriculture. So we are encouraged to see His Excellency the President leading the way. And I think in our own way, we can also be able to see how we can emulate that. Thank you, Elvis, for that. Moses, indeed, the cost of living is a very topical issue, which, like what I said earlier, there's no reasonable government which would want its people to suffer. But the thing, I think, which you have raised around the load shedding, is a matter that is being addressed, and that is why you have seen that in the last 3 to 4 months, there's been some kind of improved power supply stability, where sometimes you'd go 24 hours without power. I think from my experience, and I think a few people that I've spoken to, they're now being able to be provided with power, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on the location. But I think that is a demonstration that the government is seriously trying to address this issue. And I think with what we saw about 2 months ago, where the Honorable Minister of Energy, Honorable Chikote, went to sign the commissioning of the interpower connector with East Africa through Tanzania and Kenya, when that begins to, when that becomes operational, I can promise you that power reliability will improve. And I agree with you that power is a major factor in terms of our people's livelihoods, whether one is a welder, whether one is good at barber shop, whether one is good at saloon. But I can also tell you, by Elvis, that in any crisis, options and opportunities arise. I always go to one barber shop. I've been always going to one barber shop for the last maybe 10 years, 15 years at Obama there. As you come out of Kamanga, there's a place called Obama. And yes, 10, 20 years ago, the person who runs that barber shop was run on Zesco. But now, anytime I go there, whether there's Zesco or no Zesco, the barber shop will be open. What did the person do? He had to be innovative. explored other options, invested in a small, what you call is it an inverter, whatever you, with one solar panel there, and he operates up to 20 hours every day. The same barber shop under different environmental challenges, but they're still able to operate. So I think it's also a wake-up call for us Zambians that this issue of depending on one source of energy can really be devastating. It has costed us so much. If this country had diversified energy options maybe 20 years back, we would not have even felt it, that we had a power deficit. But now we are feeling it. But I'm happy that most Zambians have been able to hit the core. We are blessed with so much sun. Others have even totally disengaged from the grid or ZESCO. They're able to survive. But I know that it costs money. But what I'm saying is that let us begin to more or less look outwards in as far as depending on one source of energy is concerned. Lastly, the issue of Zambia having exported maize before the drought. There is a song which my friend keeps on reminding me. I think it was by the late Piketshal. With hindsight, I don't think any responsible government would have would have exported the maize. With hindsight, and I'm qualifying that. Had we known, rather, that we're going to be hit by this drought, definitely the government would not have exported the maize. But again, mind you, peasant farmers, my uncles, my aunties, my relatives in my village in Chipungo, in Chipata, went and sold their maize to the FRA after toiling for it. And all they were given in exchange was a promissory note that we shall pay you in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. The time the new Donald administration was assuming office, the pressure was mounting on the fact that farmers who delivered maize to FRA had not been paid for months on end. And technically speaking, this maize did not belong to FRA because the owners of this maize were not paid. So what does a responsible government do? Should our people go without pay simply because the government is holding on to their produce? They had to look for a market which basically was going to offer a higher price for the surplus which we had. It was a surplus, mind you. It was not part of what we call the strategic reserve, but it was surplus, to offload that and pay the farmers, because ultimately they were the owners of the crop and they wanted their money. Now, a government which basically is, for lack of a better term, bankrupt, has no money. We are like one person I was listening to radio as I was driving here kept on saying we had to go to the IMF to borrow 1.3 billion. You can't borrow if you have got money. So it tells you that the government has a serious funding deficit. They had to now sell that produce and pay the real owners of that produce. So maybe that could be the justification. But had we probably been in a different space, not owing these thousands of peasant farmers who, maybe the government would have probably held on to the crop, or understanding very well that the government had discharged its obligations to the farmers.
Interesting. Now, before I take some more calls, I would like to take advantage of the fact that you are here and you are the board chair of National Road Fund Agency. There has been an issue that especially the opposition have driven, the opposition political parties have driven this agenda and have sung it several times, even on this program, that this government has decided to hand over all toll gates, okay, to the concessionaire. And then this is speaking to the fact that they are singing a song that this government has sold everything around toll gates. Just clarify to us why the institution you are board chair to are no longer collecting the toll fees. Or the toll fees.
It's not correct.
Right.
That we're not collecting toll fees. we are benefiting from the toll gates because, mind you, in any what you call private public-private partnership is concerned,
right.
concessionaire, there's what you call revenue share. So government is still collecting its revenue. I can even confirm here that the Chingola Chitawombe Kasumbalesa concession road, and I can't remember the name of the concessionaire there. Just in one financial in about 6 months of its operations, over 100 million was paid to the government of the Republic of Zambia as its share of the revenue. Right?
Right.
So the Zambian people still continue to get a benefit through their government. Now, let me explain one thing. I hear so much talk about these toll gates and so on.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially on the dual carriageway.
Dual carriageway. First of all, let us go back. What was the state of that road? It was like a rail line. Right? Zaki, take a drive now. See what is going on between just after the last roundabout. Is it 10 miles? Right up to even in dollar, if you wish.
Yeah.
Go and see what is happening. Changing the entire road infrastructure landscape in the country. Now, what that tells you again is what the private sector can do. Now, let me explain one thing. Our colleagues who criticize everything, maybe for the sake of criticizing, just take a drive into Zimbabwe. These major, what you call inter-town, whatever those have been told. Right? I know for a fact that the road from what bridge, what border is that with South Africa? Is it Messina? With Zimbabwe? It's Messina.
Yes.
The road which has been rehabilitated from Messina, I think that's Bulawayo, I'm not sure, right up to Harare, has been told. Right? In South Africa, all the major roads, whether going to Limpopo, whether going to Pretoria, they've been told. What are we saying? What we are saying is that when government resource envelope is restricted, mind you, I talked about the population growth outpacing the GDP growth, right? That alone tells you that the resource envelope is constrained, right? Unless you post higher economic growth and the population growth, which is below the growth of the economy, you can be able to generate surplus, to be able to do some of these things. One good thing, example is Lusaka. Lusaka was planned for how many people? 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. What's the population of Lusaka now? I would not be surprised if we're talking about 4 million. So the goods and services cannot be able to contain this kind of population implosion. So what we're saying here is that the private sector has a role, right, to play where government is not able to afford. So you make a choice. Do you want to continue on that bad state of the road, which we saw between Lusaka and Ndola, killing hundreds of people every year through what you call avoidable accidents, all in the name of saying we do not want the private sector to be concessioned on that road. Mind you, when were the toll gates introduced? Which year? Over 10 years? Right? 10, 15 years maybe. I may not be exact. And can you tell me any single road that was ring-fenced and said on Lusaka to Chipata, we have got 3 toll gates? Have you seen the condition and the state of the road from Lusaka itself through Silverest, Chongwe, right up to Luangwa? Have you seen the state of the road?
Yeah.
Yes. And there's a toll gate there, Chongwe. There's a toll gate collecting millions every month. Has the road been worked on? No. Why? Because it's government. So I'm not saying that government is not inefficient, but government has got so many competing needs to the point that it crowds out those things that basically are supposed to be done by them. Because between maybe mending a pothole and buying medicines, what will government do? They'll buy medicines. between mending a pothole and paying for a school child to go back to school through what you call free education. They'll maybe pay for free education. So what we are saying is that let us move away from this mentality or thinking that some of these problems that we continue to encounter can be resolved by the private sector.
I think there's been a perception that probably the collection of tolls could have remained with the government until the dual carriageway is done. Why? Even before it's done.
Let me answer.
Yeah.
Go to any country, start even here, Zimbabwe or South Africa. In every concession, there are two parties. There's a public, which is government, which is you.
Yeah.
Then there's private, right? Which is me. Now, if you say, I want to rehabilitate the Lusaka dual carriageway, you also have to contribute equity. You also have to contribute. Look at the PPP model law. It's very clear that every party has to contribute. Now, the Zambian government says we don't have the money, right? What is our contribution? Through what you call deficit financing. Other governments, like in South Africa, the Minister of Finance announced the what you call major policy reforms around public-private partnerships. South Africa is now embracing it. They've learned from Zambia to the point that they have they've put aside a fund in billions of rands to provide guarantees to the private sector. They're saying, if you are to do this road, give us your bill. It's going to cost you 1 billion rands. What is my contribution as government? I mean, as a private sector, it's 80%. It's a million rands.
Yeah.
Government is 200 million. Can I have your check? You say, no, we don't have the money, but we shall give you a guarantee. Right? We shall give you a guarantee. Which guarantee you can go to any financier, they will be able to exchange it face value to have capacity to give a guarantee, and that guarantee will be respected. No. We have defaulted to pay suppliers. Right? We have defaulted to pay contractors for roads. Right? Some have even sued. Now, in that environment, and I do the Lusaka dual carriageway for $658 million. Here's a paper. I am the Minister of Finance. I'll guarantee that we shall pay. It won't happen. No bank will respect it or honor it. So, as a responsible government, we say, okay, for the deficit financing, we'll contribute.
Through toffees, collected toffees.
But mind you, those toffees go into an escrow account, which is controlled by the Secretary to the Treasury. Right? All that happens is the portion which is due to the. So we have to put things in the correct context. Information is power.
Absolutely. Let's take some more calls on 0955-221515. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, please. You're through to the burning issue. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Thank you very much, my dear moderator. And good morning, Honorable Noel Nkoma.
Good morning, sir. And how are you?
I'm very okay. This is Mr. Makondo. You know what, Mr. Nkoma?
Yes, sir.
Yesterday, I was talking with my colleague. I said, I've not heard of Mr. Nkoma of late. And then he was like, yes. And in fact, I'm not even listening to the radio, but he's the one who called me. No! Mr. Nkoma is on radio. I said, he's my prophet. And whatever you prophesy is happening.
Thank you.
You remember you talked about the dual carriageway, the Lusaka dollar.
Yes. And have you seen 40% works done?
Yes.
In fact, there are portions which the contractor now is asking government, can you allow the motorists to start using the new road?
Yes, Honorable. That's why I've been forced to go. You're a prophet, even the economy.
Yes.
But prophesies, you said, you see here, we have to make sure that we reduce the mining sector.
Yes. And look at how many people are back in employment.
Yes.
That's just the money in your pocket.
Please.
Thank you.
I said, wow. Please, Zambians, let's listen to this man.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
telling you, whatever he says, he's not someone who could come and just talk about things which are neither here nor there. No, no, no. And for sure today, giving testimony. And even you Zambians, you are giving testimony to what he has said. Look at the kwacha. Look at the bag of millimil. Look at I can go on and on the whole day. Kudos, Honorable Nkoma.
Thank you,
Please,
Mr.
may the Lord
Makondo.
Almighty God look after you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and God
Thank
bless you too. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makondo, for that.
And you
Yeah.
know, sometimes, Zaki,
Yeah.
allow me to use my language. In my village, there's a saying that muntu sangaipe vonse. Right? Muntu sangaipe vonse. There are things which, yes, we could have not done to the expectation of the Zambian people, but it's not everything. But there are also those things which, like Mr. Makondo, can testify to, which we think we have walked the talk. So I think in the spirit of what you call objective criticism,
right?
Yes, criticism is healthy because it makes you wake up. But most importantly, let's also acknowledge that there are genuine strides which speak to progression that have been made here. Because, like, for example, what Mr. Makondo spoke about in Lusaka and Rwadio, it is going to be a flagship project. It's a flagship project in SADC. I've attended so many conferences abroad on PPPs. Do you know that it's ranked as one of the top 10 in the world in terms of one of the successful PPPs? One of the top 10 in the world, the Lusaka and Rwadio, because of the financial architecture that went into it to be able to deliver a project, hopefully by the end of next year, will be commissioned, right? And one thing that you should understand is the fact that since the ushering in of the new donor administration to government, the PPPs which have been delivered in the last 3, maybe let's say 4 years, have exceeded $2 billion. That speaks to confidence. People are able to say, we can commit our dollar into this country and we shall be able we are safe. Now, the PPP Act was enacted in 2007, right?
Yes.
Between 2007 and 2021, only one PPP was done to the value of about $30 million. The Kasumbalesa border concession, right? 2007 to 2021. How many years is that? 13 years, right? 13 years. Only $30 million in PPP was done. In under 3 years or under 4 years, over $2 billion. That is a record. Not only in Zambia, the first is Zambia, but in SADC, in COMESA. I've been asked to go and speak to Zambia's successes at various forums on PPPs, to countries in COMESA, countries in SADC. We have recognized the fact that government does not have the money. We cannot wait for 20 years for government to be able to post a GDP of 20% to be able to do the Lusaka Rwadio carriageway. Look at what has happened to the Chingola Kasumbalesa. Look at the mobility that is on that road. People who used to make 2 trips in a day to take goods to Kasumbalesa and come back because of the bad state of the road, congestion, are now able to make trade and commerce. Right? That's trade and commerce. Look at what we are now witnessing on the Luasha turnoff, Masangano. People who were going to Ndola were avoiding, going to Kitwe.
Yeah.
They were forced to go through Ndola, avoiding that because of the bad state of the road. It has been delivered in record time. People who used to take 3-4 hours on that road, or maybe 2-3 hours, they're now taking 30 minutes. They're in Rwanda and connecting into Kitwe. Now you look at the cost, the time that you spend when you try to go through Ndola, 3-4 hours, traffic congestion, there's idle time in traffic, it's costing you fuel, and you're now able to take an escape route of 30 minutes and you're on the other highway heading into Kitwe. That is what a responsible government alleviate and enhance economic transformation to its people.
Mr. Nkoma, unfortunately, I have to let you go. I'm mindful of the fact that you have a flight to catch at 12. We appreciate that you came, unless you have your concluding remarks.
Yes, my concluding remarks is that, yes, I've got a flight to catch. I am in the delegation of the Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development,
Right.
Honorable Engineer Charles Minupi, MP.
Yeah.
We are going to now inspect the Chipata Chadiza Road, which again is progressing very well. For the first time, there's going to be a bituminous road connecting Chipata into Chadiza.
Is that under PPP?
No. That is a
government project.
Government procurement. But what does it do? It's unlocking the economy on that corridor. We're also going to Katete Chanida,
yes,
PPP road, connecting into Bera. No, Bera now has become a very important gateway.
Yes.
So we are saying to the Zambian people, economic transformation is not an event. It's a process. So I think let's acknowledge that we are only human, we are not God, and we are bound to fail, but let recognition be given where it is due. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And well, to you, our listeners, we appreciate that you followed our conversation, and those that called in, we appreciate that you did so. More so, we appreciate our partner radio stations, Tuta FM in Mansa for carrying this program live. So is ZFM in Kabwe and Platinum Radio in Ndola. We'll certainly be back, God willing, this Thursday with the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. From all of us, is take care of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation.